Imagine if an archaeologist is digging a particular historical site. Imagine if that particular historical site is about 50 years old, and an archaeologist is digging that particular site in a certain place in Ghana. And then in the process of digging this particular site, he comes across a 50 cents, an American currency, in that particular region that the archaeologist is digging. The meaningful fact you can make from this particular coin is that, one, as at that time, Ghanaians were traveling from their particular their country to America. You see, you can use that particular discovery to trace the time that that particular group of people living with that particular place started drifting from their country to America. So you see, numismatics also talks a lot, and then it also helps the historian to also write about the past. You ever say, "Ukuta coin bi na coin no Kwame Nkrumah ti da so a." The moment a historian sees the picture of Kwame Nkrumah on that particular coin, one, it is telling him that the image on that particular coin is not a mere image. That person is not a mere somebody. He might be someone who is very important to the people of that particular place. See, on say first no ofa sika. Now the sika ne chire wi ase ya. What the chire wi na hwema. Na say ya santo a picture that sika ni. Yes. I didn't know ya de ya santo a picture. What the shade light and as all the shade we are when who ya santo a picture. You see, currency has that ability to tell the history of a particular group of people. So in the same effect, when you are studying coins and you find or you come across the image of a certain person on the coin, it is going to tell you a whole lot of history of that particular society. So that is what numismatics is also about, the study of coins in order to talk about or in order to write about the history of a certain group of people. That is numismatics. But let's also move on to oral traditions. Then when we are done, we also move on to the archaeology. Then we bring this class to an end. Oral traditions is an account of the past from one generation to another generation by word of mouth. Intino say we recount a particular history of a particular group of people. Wait, one what I say? What do I know can or might be about kwasem actually normally no unsettled no na nanom first na TV ne TikTok ne YouTube ne sa na manema we na ni ho no kaipa me na nakuya buadu a enwumire bia na ochie tenase no the history na maye. So what I say, no the history me say the first time I met say ya santo adin e me na nakuya buadu a ba na e kan sa story na chire me kaipa na misua na sa time no na light call. So enwumire no ofre na obobo ayi na ya no na wo chire the history of Yasantua. Intino, the moment you start to give an account of the past by the word of mouth from one generation to another generation, that is oral tradition, and that serves as another source of writing African history. We say fa bimaya enkunkuro bebre ni bi wo ha broni ba ye no ansana would develop the system of writing. Nkunkuni bibiri o ha e broni ne ba abrofo ne ba no na you develop the system of writing. Na eno nso nkire se na ya bakwasem yenim na ye nananom bibiri de to o mutirim to kwa hemfi a ye wachiamefo ye wo nananom mpanimfo a omunim wo man na bakwasem to atiase so what is sa enwum we a o say ya santo You see, when you hear a song like that, that particular song alone, it's telling you that the contributions of a certain woman, a certain brave woman who was called Ya Asantua in the history of the Asantes. So that is what oral traditions are about. An account of the past from one generation to the another generation by word of mouth. So historians also rely on oral traditions to write about the past. So my students that are watching me right now, you have to also go and then search for the advantages and the disadvantages of oral traditions. And then the oral traditions, there are two types of oral traditions. We have the fixed text type and the free text type. So because a fixed text type now, and a account of the past that is passed on from one generation to another generation. That doesn't change. It remains fixed. Unse yewo histories bi wo ha ensesa fixed. No matter what you do to that particular history, it is fixed. Ensesa that. The history of Yasantua is a fixed history. Nobody can change that. The history of how Okomfanoche was born, how Okomfanoche's relations with the first king of the Asante Empire was. It doesn't change. It is a fixed history. And if somebody is giving an oral account of that, but let's talk about the free text type. The free text type, as a type of oral tradition, is an account of the past that sometimes can be changed. Let's talk about the history of maybe an accession to the throne of a certain group of people. There were so many chieftaincy disputes, so many of them, leading to a whole lot of problems across the country. Adentia nkwanyano ho history na ewo ho no nkofo bi atumi atena se asesa history no ama nkwanyano akodi nkofo foforo nsem nti omo a first no na nkwanyano ye omo de ya no omo nti ase. What you say? So those are the free text type. It misses. They are the account of the past that are passed on from one generation to another that can be changed. But when you talk about the fixed text type, it doesn't change at all. It is a fixed history. In one of my videos that are coming, we will talk about Asebu Amenfi. His history is a fixed history. And before the coming of the Europeans, our grandfathers, our forefathers of the past used to recount these stories to their next generation. But one advantage of oral traditions is that it helps archaeologists to validate a specific site suitable for digging. And this will lead us to the next source that we will talk about, which is archaeology. Archaeologists they look for material remains of our past societies, and normally oral traditions helps them to validate a specific location that they believe that it should be suitable for the excavation. Archaeologists no omoduma nan say omutumi tutu form baby ekohu nompe bi ekohu nyoma bi wasase na ase a omo machines akese omo scientific processes bi omo frɛ no carbon 14 dating omo de saa nema no efa saa processing nti se tikonkura ena omo behu a saa tikonkura no omo betumi de ato machine so a machine be kire o say this particular skull has been here for about 10,000 years. So that is archaeology. It is the study of material remains of our past societies. So this will be the end of today's video. We discussed numismatics. We have been able to also discuss linguistics. We are discussing oral traditions, and we are discussing archaeology. There are so many other sources of writing African history that are non-documentary. We have Syriology, we have zoology, we have ethnobotany, and Dawson. So go and do your research and then learn more about the sources, the non-documentary sources of writing African history.